All right. I want to help you all become better marketers for yourself and also for your personal brand. And that's what the next 20 minutes is hopefully going to help establish. What's amazing about social media and personal branding is that to a large degree, and this is really, really only true, I would say, of social media, is that you really can control what you emit from a communication perspective and what you receive, both as media and messaging. And it's really one of the biggest shifts, as far as I'm aware, in marketing and advertising in history. And social media, each consumer controls their content. So it's kind of a big concept, but it's something that's really very relevant to how we operate today.
Yeah, I want to just remind everybody. Well, off in front of them. There you go.
Successful branding starts with a clear and unique positioning, and in classical marketing terms, this is called a value proposition. Whether the entity is a large corporation, a small business, a product, or an individual, which all of you are individuals, and you will all have a value proposition to think about or create either today or hopefully when you go home. Personal branding, like most marketing paradigms, is actually best understood via some basic questions, and these are pretty easy to remember. Who you are, when do you have something to say, what do you have to say, where, which channels, how do you define your voice, style, personality, and what do you want to achieve? So if you can think about those questions, which we'll go through now again, and understand them, this is a way you'll be able to establish, maintain, and evolve your personal branding. Okay? I'm going to read this because it's a quote I found in some random place online, but I love it. Behind me is infinite power. Before me is endless possibility. Around me is boundless opportunity. Why should I fear? I think most people are actually a bit afraid of who they are as a brand. I know I am. And there are some tactics that are really important that you, if you want to subscribe to this, actually do to be able to understand who you are as a personal brand and get better and keep getting better. Everyone is a brand. We each have an ability to really shift and shape how we are perceived in the world. For some, it might be of utmost importance. For others, it may seem less so. But for all of us, I would argue that we should ask, what is my brand, and how can I be my best possible brand? I like to keep it simple. There are 10 steps. 10 steps to creating a personal branding strategy. What is your brand? I'll just read them quickly and then we'll go over each one. What is your brand? Understand who you are, assess how you are perceived by others, define what you want to achieve, and thus create your brand. After you know what your brand is, you need to communicate. Develop your communication strategy, develop and nurture your network, and then the third category is promotion. This is the dreaded talking about yourself, boosting yourself up. For a lot of us, it's really hard to do, but nobody's going to do it better than you, and nobody might do it except you. So it's really important. Curate relevant news and publish content, and speak. Have opportunities to speak. The fourth category is to plan for the long term. Once you set up your personal brand, the good news is you have a brand. The second news is the world evolves, you evolve, and you have to keep at it all the time. It's a 24/7 job. Listen to what's going on around in the world, monitor and adjust accordingly. Okay, going back to the first step. What is your brand? Who are you? And these are really basic things, but they're essential if you want to consider yourself as a brand. And every large brand, by the way, I've worked for L'Oreal for a number of years in corporate advertising and marketing for Citibank and Wells Fargo, and these are exactly the type of questions that everyone in classic marketing goes through on a regular basis. And I really truly believe that this all applies to everyone and their own personal branding initiatives. What are your skills? What are your strengths? What are your passions and positioning? And what is your specialization? Once you understand who you are, you can then get some feedback. And this is sometimes hard. A lot of companies do something called a 360. And if you can do it informally, but it's important to kind of validate what you think you might be, and ask your friends, ask your colleagues some very basic questions, like the 3 that I just asked. What are your skills? What is your positioning? What are you good at? And once you elicit the feedback and opinion of people, your peers, and people you care about, potential clients, existing clients, if you want to get more clients, this is a great way to know what you're good at. What do they think you're good at? You might be surprised that sometimes there's a gap between what you think you're good at and what other people think you're good at. Sometimes the surprises are great. You might not have thought of yourself as a certain type of person, and people can validate who they perceive you to be. The third thing is to really define what you want to achieve. And when we get to the last slide, you'll see I made my own personal branding slide to share with you as an example. And putting the words on paper is absolutely essential. So think about it from your career perspective. Who is your audience? What is your market? And what is your style? Don't be afraid to be a real person. A lot of people, I think, keep it so serious and so corporate, even in their own personal branding, that it doesn't make you memorable. So by being a real person and having passions that may be outside of your career, I think it enables you to be actually very memorable and authentic. That's the 4th point. When you create your brand, be authentic. There are different ways of actually creating your brand, but emotion, the tone of emotion also will depend on what you do for a living and how serious it is or how fun or funny. And words, logo, taglines, these are all classic marketing tactics and need to be incorporated if you want to create your own personal brand. Communicate. All right. This is really the most aligned with what most people, I would say today, do with social media. Be intentional about the frequency of your outbound messages. Social media is very similar to what I call real life relationships and conversations. In fact, there are some people in your life you can probably think of who call you on the phone too frequently, or who used to call you on the phone too frequently and now maybe text or email. And every relationship, every intentional outbound communication needs to be monitored with the audience that you're trying to reach or that you're having the relationship with. So having the right cadence, to use a musical term, the right frequency of communication as you outbound is going to be really important to have a successful communication strategy, or people will simply turn you off. We've all turned off a number of friends on Facebook, right? All right, that's usually because they're annoying with too many messages or the wrong tone or the wrong content. And that's what I mentioned earlier. We all have the opportunity to audit or control what we emit and what we receive inbound. This is a huge, 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 tremendous opportunity within social media. And what's really equally as important is that each channel in social media and other types of communication must be intentional to that channel. Hopefully, most of you in the room have Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Those are the 3 essential. And then there are 3 or 4 other channels that are maybe less utilized. Each of those 3 major channels in social media has a very different type of communication. You know, the length of messaging with Twitter and the type of messaging that you do on LinkedIn versus Facebook. There is something that I want to mention here, which is a lot of people say to me, well, my Facebook is just for my friends. My answer is, no, it's not. Your Facebook is public domain, whether you use your settings and try and block people or information. You should use your Facebook for the entire world. If you want to set up private groups, that's a different option. But ostensibly, it's one of the most incredible opportunities that we all have since, I mean, I've been on Facebook since 2007, which was one of the first years that Facebook was open to non-college people. And honestly, it's something that you have this free opportunity to present your brand. So use it. use it, and look at other people. Emulate what other people are doing who are people that you like to be or would like to be, you know, part of their group or their world. Be responsive to inbound messages, and this is something that, again, it's like real life, people. Social media is real life. If people talk to you, it's a really good idea to reply or to respond, unless they're offensive, and then of course you block them, and that's a different story. But for example, a lot of people, I was an early adopter to LinkedIn as well. A lot of people have connected to me because of my network. I almost always accept. I almost always say thank you, unless I'm having a bad day. I think it's really important. You never know. You never know what other people know. You never know whom other people know. And unless someone is particularly offensive, I really don't have any other rationale. Why would you not accept someone who might embellish your life in some way now or in the future? So that's the message on communication. In terms of your network, influencers, and this is where use social media. It's there. There's so much richness to it for you to make your brand better, make yourself more known. Even if you feel like you're happy in your life, you're settled, you don't need anything, you don't need anyone, at some point you might. Well, social media is, and personal branding, it's a 24/7 constant evolution and also a requirement to be in the game. So if you want to get a new job a year from now and you didn't think you needed social media, you can't. It doesn't just happen overnight. So, or new clients. The more that you're engaged, the more that you have time to dedicate to your strategy and to understand who are your influencers, who are the groups that you want to participate with and be part of. It's really, really an incredible opportunity that we all have, and it's free. Okay? Offline. Offline counts too. Here we are offline. I love that expression. Networking events in your field, where influencers may be, are also an added way to add to your personal branding. You'll make incredible relationships. You'll observe things that you wouldn't get to see online. So put it in your strategy. How frequently you want to be out and about and doing something related to your personal branding is really, really important. I moved to Miami, little segue, less than 3 years ago. I knew nobody. I had no clients. I decided I wanted to live here. I went to about, and James and Annette will remember, I went to about 10 events a week. Not because if I never go to another party, I wouldn't mind, but I felt it was really important to get out in the community and meet as many people as possible. And through that, I met a network of people, of friends, of colleagues, acquired a number of clients, and that's kind of what you have to do. I'm, maybe not 10, and I don't do 10 events anymore a week, but have an intentional strategy. Put it in your calendar. Find things to do. We can all do it. And being a brand means being relevant. Look at a brand like Ford. I mean, how much money do you think they spend being out and about, and making their presence known? So you want to be known. You want to be known. You want to be the person that somebody thinks of, be top of mind. The dreaded promote yourself. There are two types of people in this world, those who like to promote themselves and those who don't. However, I really believe that we all have to do this to a large degree. One of the ways to be relevant, that is the name of the title of this presentation, is be informed, read a lot. And there's a statistic that I found astounding recently, that some years ago, the average attention span of a consumer reading about a product or news was 20 minutes. Does anyone want to guess what it is today? 9. Good, Jim. You win. 9 seconds you have to capture somebody's attention, unless you're sitting here and we block the doors. But basically, it's easy to do that. Setting up flows of information in a way that makes you efficient at assessing information in the categories that are of interest to you is so easy to do. Set up your social media and general news from an inbound perspective in a way that you can scan regularly and quickly. This is what Twitter feeds are great for this. I use so many Google alerts. I don't even read, I mean, I get a few published publications, but for the most part, because I curate so much of my own content, I probably can access 5 hours of reading and get the gist of it in 1 to 2 hours a day, which is what I do, 1 to 2 hours a day. Select topics that you want to establish yourself as what's called in the business a subject matter expert, an SME. And why is this important? Because people will remember you. People will want to hear what you have to say. And it's not necessarily that you're creating content, and this is a huge shift. It's a really, really big shift, only even in this year. I'll give another quote. Probably the most well-known person in personal branding is a guy named William Arruda, and his predictions for 2014 include social media savvy from optional to essential, social access at work from restricted to required. These are big shifts, and basically to be an expert is keeping yourself in the game. So it doesn't mean creating new content. It means knowing where to find interesting content that other people will want, other people in your groups and in your communities will find interesting, and keep it more efficient. People have less time to read this prolific amount of information that is, thanks to the World Wide Web, available to all of us. So, yes, writing content and speaking at opportunities offline are also really important. But repurposing content is absolutely okay now, and that is a very big shift, very recent. The other thing is, if you are, depending on what your lifestyle is and what your career is, being as a subject matter expert to outbound outreach to the media. I have a PR company. I am actually there. I am the voice of 7 people today. And I have become a subject matter expert in a couple of things that I really wasn't recently, but the information's there and it's really not that difficult. So contacting media outlets, whether or not you are in PR, is something that you can always do. If you see a writer of a publication online or printed that you like, that you want to contribute something, a lot of people like to get new stories or new point of views. So don't be afraid. You know, go on, just try. The worst you can get is a no. And of course, a lot of us, especially in PR, get no a lot. But showcase your thought leadership. It really is a great opportunity to shine. Okay. Those were the major steps to creating your personal brand. Well, the good news is if you follow those 8 steps, you're going to be in good shape and be intentional about all of the what, where, when, why, how. Well, the bad news, if you will, is that it doesn't just stop there. It is continuous, continual. The world is evolving at a pace that has never been, ever been seen before. It's really important to listen to what's going on around you, to stay proactive and current, and use Google Alerts. I mean, this is just an incredible way to cut to the chase. How many people have a Google Alert on themselves? Okay. How many people Google themselves? Okay. If you learned anything today, please do that. Those 2 things. Set up a Google Alert. You can get daily information, as it happens information. And in terms of Googling yourself, I recommend about once or twice a month. And another thing, that the more that you do these other things that I was talking about, you'll find that your SEO, does everybody know what SEO is? Yeah, okay. This is really what dedication to social media helps you do. If you Google Judy Holm, I hope you will, hopefully you'll see lots of cool stuff about me. And that's because I spend a lot of time. It's intentional for me to be in the game. Am I getting close on time?
Yeah, maybe you want to have some questions.
I do. This is my last slide, so that's perfect.
Do it.
Okay. So, who has some questions?
Well done. I'm not even going to moderate the questions. You go for it. Hands up. Gentleman right there in the red shirt.
Oh,
this lady here. Okay, fine.
Good morning. Good afternoon. My name is Sherry Rudolph, and I would legally clean. We clean corners, so you don't have to. And my question is, will this slide be available to the people attending?
If anyone would like a copy of this presentation, my email is on there, judyh@aspirationspr.com. I'm happy to send you. And another thing that I was going to offer to all of you, I have something called the Toolkit. 10 easy things to do to create your personal brand. Just happy to send it to you for free. Just send me your email address and I'll get it off to you right away. Other questions?
Yeah, there were others.
Yeah, good question. This discussion is largely about personal brands, and there are a number of instances where a personal brand differs substantially from a corporate brand. And one that I've come to mind recently is T-Mobile CEO, his name is Stationers. He's, to put it mildly, a little aggressive. And I'm curious what you think about a personal brand that really shows a side of an individual that differs from the corporate brand that companies represent.
It's a great question, and thank you, because it's basically what I do for a living. When I mentioned that I literally am 7 people, I do the PR and social media for 5 CEOs in 4 different industries. And one can do it individually, but usually at that level, it's preferable to work with a professional dealing with the media. Being the spokesperson for a difficult CEO it's a challenge, and there is a lot of coaching involved. There are other people who can be involved, and some of the companies I've worked for have been financial service organizations, and when you get negative personal PR mixed with a corporation with stockholders involved, I mean, you've seen what happens in the news. So it's a challenge, and what I try to coach these different individuals that I'm currently working with is to, be humble and let people who know how to craft a brand and make them look better, because the whole idea is to make somebody look as good as they can be, right? And to minimize negative PR, by the way, statistically has a 10 times worse, stronger impact than any positive PR. So a lot of what PR professionals know is and one of my clients, his whole intention is to stay out of the news. He doesn't want to be seen publicly at all, and that in this case it's actually a better strategy. Does that answer?
Sort of. I wanted to get do you think there's room for circumstances where a CEO's personal, communicative, and political, etc., commentary views can be differentiated from corporations' views?
Yes. Yes. No, they can be different. Everyone's an individual. As long as they are professional and don't alienate what a corporation will have brand values and a mission statement, and as long as they're aligned, they're not misaligned, I should say, then absolutely yes. I mean, some of the best CEOs are the quirkiest people on the planet, right? And outspoken.
Hi, my name is LaDon Mantavian with the Global Social Enterprise Initiative at Georgetown University. You mentioned that LinkedIn, you accept pretty much any invitation that comes to you. But I have a different perspective, though, and I'm a little bit more selective, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this stuff. If I get invitations from people that I absolutely don't know, and they just send that standard message, I often tend to think that they're looking to cut my contact.
It's a great question, and I know exactly what you're saying, and this is how I've evolved. I initially, for the first couple of years, if I didn't know someone personally, like, why do I want to be your friend? I've evolved in my thinking for this reason. I give everybody one chance. If they send that standard, will you accept, etc., I'm like, all right, if they didn't do their homework, I'm not impressed, not impressed. If they follow up with a sales call, boom, out, you're gone. But if they, if there's nothing negative, then I'm okay with it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just quickly, I just want to next time, we're interested in maybe a follow-up conversation with CEOs. So, what what's your take on, for example, we analyze a lot of, let's say, a Twitter feed or LinkedIn number of users to try to assign evaluation. And we get some people with like 1,000 followers, somebody with 10,000. What would you take in assigning a value dollar number for that?
You know, it is a fantastic question. My strength is definitely not analytics and monetizing what those numbers might mean. I apologize, it's really not something I could answer with a lot of authority.
So, this is probably partially answered, but let's say if you're running a company, you have other things to do on your day, how much time do you think that should be dedicated to that, and what point do you think it's worth it, where you say, you know what, I need to offload some of this, people didn't do it with my hand, to do it with the company?
Thank you. That's actually a great question, and it's one that I do have experience and authority, I think, to answer. I recommend 1 hour a day for social media for most individuals. I actually attended 2010 and 2012 Social Media Summit with literally probably the best people in the world on social media. It's a pretty standardized way of thinking for experts. However, if for you personally or for a company, do the math. If 1 hour of your time is too much, if you want to, like a classic marketing PR firm, the price tag is probably going to be worth it to you. If it's not core to your business, or just doesn't seem to be that relevant to spend that much time every day. And it also means the strategy of how many outbound. So it's the curating of content. It's the decision of what to write about, right, in each of the 3 channels at least, and also then to actually enact it and to reply. It's a great question. Thank you.
All right, there's a lot more questions. Judy's got to go because we've got to keep on time, but you'll be able to be in the back of the room.
Yep.
Okay, all day. This is about interacting and being social, so everybody get social with Judy. Judy, that was awesome. Awesome.
And again, if anyone would like a copy of the presentation, just send me an email. Thank you very much.
I'm emailing. She was terrific. Great stuff. One time again, Judy, what's your email for everybody?
Judy H. at aspirations